Our next door neighbors are Filo del Sol. Filo del Sol was sold to BHP and Lundin Mining, and it closed only a month or so ago for 4.5 billion Canadian dollars. And the neighbor after that, if you're going north from us, is a company called NGEx Resources, and they've also made a very nice discovery there called Lunahuasi, which is worth now something in the ballpark of 2.9 billion Canadian dollars. So that's where we are, and we're situated, as part of this north-south trending belt, where you get, deposits every few kilometers. You're finding something, and that's kind of how these things occur. And so, you go from Lunahuasi down to Filo del Sol, and then we're directly after that, directly adjacent to Filo and the kind of strike extension or projection, if you will, of that trend.
So hello and welcome to the Assay TV. Today I'm here with Allen Sabet, Chief Executive Officer and Director at Mogotes Metals. So Allen, thanks for joining us here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me here, Amy.
Always a pleasure to catch up with you. So it's been a few months since we last caught up with you and your company. So maybe you can give us a bit of a recap on Mogotes Metals' journey up until now.
Yeah, no problem. Basically, Amy, we're in a district of copper discoveries known as the Vicuña District. We're an exploration stage company, and we're looking at finding a large copper, gold, silver deposit in this Vicuña District. That's what we're intending to do. Where that is on the border between Argentina and Chile in the high Andes. And it's a great place to be exploring because this is where several large discoveries have been made in the last 5 years. And I don't mean the general area, I mean quite specifically to our district. So our next door neighbors are Filo del Sol. Filo del Sol was sold to BHP and Lundin Mining, and it closed only a month or so ago for 4.5 billion Canadian dollars. And the neighbor after that, if you're going north from us, is a company called NGEx Resources, and they've also made a very nice discovery there called Lunahuasi, which is worth now something in the ballpark of 2.9 billion Canadian dollars. So that's where we are, and we're situated, as part of this north-south trending belt, where you get, deposits every few kilometers. You're finding something, and that's kind of how these things occur. And so, you go from Lunahuasi down to Filo del Sol, and then we're directly after that, directly adjacent to Filo and the kind of strike extension or projection, if you will, of that trend. So that's where we've been exploring. Since we last spoke, the significant events that have occurred are, one, we've acquired an option deal over the other kind of half of the project, which sits into Chile. So, before when we spoke, we had a quite sizable land package in Argentina, and now we have an additional ground package in Chile, which we're very excited about because it's sitting directly on and part of one of our most high priority targets, which we've been really waiting to explore until we close this option deal. So that's the main news. And the second bit of big news that's happened here is that we've acquired another agreement to get to 100% of our Argentina ground. So we've added significant heft to our land package, 100% in Argentina, and an option to get up to 80% of this Chilean ground, which is very prospective in our minds. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And so maybe can you talk us through, your decision-making process in terms of kind of the acquiring this, the 100% of the Argentina land package and the 80% of the Chilean one?
Yeah. Well, the Chilean ground is very exciting because it sits directly south of the Filo trend. And we have a target there called Meseta, where we've been finding very exciting, geological indicators of a high sulfidation epithermal system, which is basically carries precious metals, and it's one of the contributing factors to the grade at the very high grade Filo discovery, the high grade part of Filo. And so we're seeing some interesting rocks there that the textures and the grades we're seeing in the assays from the lab tell us this could be an exciting prospect. And on top of what we're seeing in the geology, when we did the geophysical surveys there, we saw in the several types of surveys, both IP and MT surveys, chargeable and conductive bodies sitting underneath there, overlaid by a resistive layer. So what that's telling us in summary is that we're seeing the characteristics that we think represent a high sulfidation epithermal target, which could be great for a precious metals component. And then sitting underneath that is a target that we believe is a buried porphyry target, or could be a buried porphyry target. So the significance of the Chilean ground, and the reason we went for it, is because we had essentially what looks to be more or less half of that target area, and the other half sat on this Chilean ground. So now that we've got this, we've been exploring in earnest. We've put boots on the ground, and we've kind of had people all over there sampling and mapping for the last month or so. And we're going to have geophysics there deploying very soon to complete that picture. So we've got that geophysical picture for our part, and now the new part completes that picture, and we're going to be able to, I think, establish a good target there if everything goes well.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds great. And so can you talk a little bit more about, some of the exploration work that you have planned in this area?
Yeah, so we've got quite a number of interesting targets in our project package, including in Argentina and in Chile. So we should be seeing in the coming weeks results flowing from what we've been doing in Argentina over our multiple targets there. So we've got about, I'd say, 8 to 9 targets that we've been exploring and advancing. So we've got trenching work over the top of these targets, which will tell us what kind of mineralization we're seeing, help us control and understand the best orientation and location to put a drill hole. So those results will be flowing soon. And then we're going to be seeing results from our mapping and sampling campaign over the top of this very exciting new ground in the north, directly adjacent to Filo. So we're going to be seeing the results from that flowing through. And then we're going to have geophysics as well, which will be quite exciting, I'm hoping, over that area. And that's what we're going to be seeing kind of in the coming month. Yeah.
Okay, sounds great. And so we've also seen some news centered around the Vicuña District claims. So can you talk about some of the results that you've already seen coming out of this?
Yeah, so that's kind of where we started. We put the boots on the ground, and we had some people there looking at the rocks, and we showed some really great photos there of the kinds of things we're seeing there. There's a number of new unmapped and previously unsampled breccias, buggy silica textures in there. So there's a number of good photos in there that show why we're excited about that particular prospect. And you're also going to see in there great maps that explain why we're excited as well from the geophysical perspective, is that you can see that there's some very interesting geophysical anomalies, and we were looking to complete that picture to explain what they are and to better target there. So, you're seeing in those, what you're seeing there are kind of a quick look at what we've learned from the project so far, but we're going to get more detail as the lab results come out and as we get there and do the geophysical work.
Okay, sounds great. And so, maybe you could talk a little bit about, your current financing situation. So, how well financed is Mogotes as we move through 2025, Sure. And what might you be looking for?
So look, Amy, we've had 8 million Canadian dollars in the bank end of February. So we're pretty well financed and well supported by our shareholders. And importantly, we've been very judicious about how we're spending the money so that we're able to generate the most exploration results from the cash that we invest into the project. And so the way that we designed the program for this season was very deliberate and strategic so that we could slowly step forward at the prospects that we've got in Argentina and understand better the best orientation and place to put a drill hole. And then in the new optioned ground that we have is to systematically extend our coverage and better understand, again, also the geophysical anomalies, the geology, the geochemistry. A lot of information is unknown. And so the finance, we're in good shape and we'll be able to do quite a lot with what we have.
Okay, sounds great. And just kind of looking at the region where you're operating, so Argentina and Chile, you've already talked a lot about, some of the other major projects that have been found in the region. Do you want to talk a little bit about kind of what makes these regions in particular so attractive to your company?
Well, look, when you look at copper discoveries in the world, there isn't that many. new ones to speak of or to point at. What you're seeing a lot of the time is, old deposits, old discoveries, or old mines that are being extended, or, companies are looking for more there. So it's rare to find a greenfield new discovery of economic potential that's large and high grade and interesting, and definitely of interest to a mining company. So it's even more rare to take one of those and say, look, within a few years of a big discovery, it's been bought by a major company at a price tag of $4.5 billion. Okay, that's already rare. And then you go, okay, there's been another one as well in that same time frame, and that's Lunahuasi, and that's worth almost 3 billion Canadian dollars now. And so you start to ask, look, this is an interesting location. 2 greenfield copper discoveries in the last 5 years. So this is a fantastic place to be looking for new copper discoveries. I would argue there's probably nowhere better, because it's well known that where you're looking for copper or for metals, it's where you're finding it already. And so there's been 2 fantastic discoveries now in the last 5 years, and we're directly part of that trend and that belt, and we're in there. So that's why we're there, Chile and Argentina, but more specifically the Vicuña District, because of the potential for greenfield copper discoveries. And taking a step back and saying, look, are these countries a good place to operate? Chile and Argentina, and the answer is yes. Chile's got quite a history of producing copper companies, and Argentina is relatively new to this, but in the last 2 years has passed significant interesting legislation and executive changes that have made it much better for investment from mining companies. One of those changes is called the RIGI, RIGI, and it basically provides a whole suite of incentives for developing mining projects, including tax breaks, customs, drops on import duty, and a number of other concessions that make it much more attractive to develop a mining project in Argentina. And I think more of that will happen, and as the economy takes over and things are done to stimulate growth there, which has not happened for quite some time, and now mining is really picking up in Argentina as well. So both really good places to be, in my opinion.
Okay, sounds good. And so just to, kind of round things out, are there any major milestones with these various projects that investors can look out for in the coming months?
Yeah, for sure. We're looking to see the results from our new ground up in the north at the Meseta prospect. We're looking to see a number of news releases there in regards to the geology, the lab results that we're going to get back, and the geophysics. At the same time, we've done quite an interesting program over on the Argentina prospects, where we expect to release a few things in the coming weeks as well about what we've been seeing from the trench results that we've done there and the sampling that we've done there. So stay tuned on all of those.
Absolutely, will do. And we look forward to catching up with you again soon in the next couple of months, just to see how the projects are progressing. So, Alan, thanks for joining me here today on the Assay TV.
Thanks for having me, Amy.
Thanks.